say goodbye to manual GIS updates with Coordinates. I'm Anne Harper, I'm the Chief of Staff here at Coordinates, and we have today our sales engineer Eli Chadwick, who will lead us through the demo of the new functionality. So if you have any questions, please note that at the bottom of your screen there is a Q&A box. Just chuck your questions in there. We'll endeavour to answer what we can. If we can't answer your question, we'll follow up with you later. Also, this webinar will be recorded. We do send the recordings out over email, but they're also all available on our YouTube channel as well. Cool. So I'm going to start today by running through some slides just to explain what Coordinates is, and then Eli will jump into the demo itself. So with Coordinates, you get your own data platform if you're a customer of ours. This means you can provide self-service access for all of your customers and collaborators to your data. This self-service means that your customers can come along, your users can preview and export your data into their favorite GIS formats. They can take it as PDFs, or for the engineering people out there, you can take it as a DWG for CAD, and there are many more. All of this includes the engine that provides automatic coordinate transformation. APIs are automatically created, so people can take your data as a data download, like I just explained in one of the formats, or they can consume it via API and web services. So you can see here that we do support Esri REST as well as open standard formats. Coordinates is in the cloud. This means no IT is required. You can get going. You don't have to worry about what servers or hardware you have to support it, or you don't have to worry about uptime. We take care of all of that stuff for you. It is scalable and performant. So if you have a massive project come along at short notice, you're able to just increase the size as you need it. We support up to 20 gigabytes for vector and over 2 terabytes for single raster and point cloud layers. It is secure, so we are ISO certified, and then for the data itself, if you have super sensitive data that you only want to share with your client or your team, you have complete control of the permissions. So it's up to you whether you make it public if you want to promote your data, or if you want to provide it to just a small group of people. It's all doable. So how it works is you have your data types. You may have vector, point cloud, 3D tiles. On this side, these are the ways that you can load it into Coordinates where it lives. And then your customers can then consume it in a number of different ways. So today, we're going to be focusing on this part of the story right here, which is about bringing, updating your data when it needs to be automatically. So manually updating large GIS datasets is a time-consuming hassle. It's one that can regularly take you away from more productive work. In addition, most plugins and integrations that are meant to help automate and schedule updates are themselves quite clunky and don't perform well for all systems or data types. So the solution that we're going to show you today is Coordinates scheduled updates. So we're removing all that manual effort, clunky scripts and patchy integrations, and created a seamless automated updates that work with the systems you already use. So on that note, I will stop my slides and share with Eli so that he can show you what it actually looks like.
Right, so today, what are we going to do? I'm going to show you what Anne just said, pretty much. The way I'm going to do it is I have two sites here. The red guy is the source of the data, if you like, and the black guy is the consumer of the data. So you could be grabbing data from from a myriad of different data sources. I'll cover off what you could be using. Today we're doing ingestion of Esri REST, and rather than using an Esri server itself, I'll be using the Esri web services that come off the layers that are published into your portal. So the overriding idea here is you've got an authoritative source that's posting updates to a data set. You want a copy of that data that you can control over in your site, and you want to make it available to your end users as painlessly as possible. As I say, it could be coming from a number of different places. Today, it is going to be a case of eating our own dog food. So this guy here has a layer somewhere down here. In fact, if I just filter by, sort by recently added, that should bring me my building footprints. Cool. So these are just building outlines. Let's have a quick look at what we have here. If I throw that in the map, we're looking at, surprise, surprise, where I live, Rotorua. So these are the building footprints for Rotorua. And I will be accessing them using the Esri REST services, which are available from the Services and APIs tab. So if I come down here, there's my Esri REST. What you will need to do for our system in particular is create yourself an API key, give it data access scope, which I've already done, called Webo. And so if I grab a copy of this URL and then throw that into a browser, it should come up looking like your regular Esri REST. So that's a feature service. I'm now going to head over to what in this story would be my site. And I want to grab a copy of that data, and then I want to be doing a scheduled update every evening to see if there's any updates to keep my data synced up with wherever it's coming from. Again, could be from any of the different types of feature services that Esri produces. So the first step over here is we go to configure sources. The data source concept, essentially it's like a object that can be pointed at things, and it will do a scan, find out if there's any feature services there, and if it finds anything, then you are good to go. So I'm going to say connect to source. I want to connect to an ArcGIS REST endpoint. I want to get rid of this thing. So I just drop whatever I've got on my clipboard that I copied from above. I'm going to give it a title, something that will make sense to me moving forward, and an owning group, demo data. Then we hit connect. That's going to connect us up to the endpoint. The first thing that happens is we have a scan. So what's going on here is this is where our code base is scanning that endpoint. That doesn't take long. It's a very small, it's just a one feature web service. So all done, found that. So the next step is we go to browse sources, and I go down to my buildings, and I drill down to the layer I want. So this is exactly the layer that we were just looking at over in the red guy. And I'm going to say import. It's an import because I have no copy of it at all. If I was wanting to do an update manually, which is what schedules updates do automatically, then I would have selected update. So I've got my title. I don't have to fill in anything. This is quite important. You've got to set a primary key. I'll explain why in a second, but that's essentially all you need to kick off. The primary key is set to building ID. The reason it is so important to set a primary key is because when we do future updates, what we essentially do is look at the incoming data set. This could be the same with an upload, any of the different methods of getting your data onto Koordinates. We're going to read the whole entire file, and then we're going to analyze each feature based on its primary key to see whether that is an insert, an update, or a delete. If you don't set a primary key, then what will end up happening is it will do a delete of all the files, of all the features in the set, and it will basically do a bulk insert every single time. Why you don't want to do that is because you then lose your auditable history. So by having your primary key, we're generating a change set or a delta or a commit. They're all basically the same thing. It means that you can then go back through the history of that file and see the things that have happened in the past. So this guy is ticking away. I would hope that this takes under a minute. In the event that it doesn't, oh, there we go, it's cranking. One thing I did want to talk about was data sources in general. So we'll pop on over there for now. So for these data sources, I'm connecting to Esri REST. You could also be connecting to an S3 bucket, Amazon S3, or you could be connecting to Postgres. So if I was to say, let's connect to an S3 bucket, you basically set up an ARN, do your cloud formation template, hooks you directly into whatever folder you've granted access to. And all the things I'm talking about could be happening in that environment. So you might decide that you want to put all of your data into an S3 bucket and then have your coordinate site just read that. And then you never have to touch coordinates, and you just keep loading more things in there. We'll do a scan. So like an update to a file will scan it, discover that there are changes, and apply them to your data set. Same goes for Postgres SQL. There's a few others, but they aren't so scheduled updatey. So for hooking into a Postgres database, it's just the usual stuff, host, port, database schemas, any auth stuff, and then connect. No matter what data source you connect to, so if I go to browse sources, in here will be a bunch of different types. So there's Esri services, there is somewhere down here is an S3 bucket, bunch of different things. Oh, actually the S3 bucket's on the other one, but anyway. So yeah, you can use this approach for updating your data with a few different types of data sources. If I pop back over to manage data, we should find that this guy has published. So if I now say, let's have a look at that in the portal, what do we have? We've got New Zealand building outlines, and they are here. So essentially, just to show you what I've loaded there, that is just Bay of Plenty. I know, not Bay of Plenty. It's the Rotorua TA. What I'm going to do next is do an update of the source data, and then I'm going to pull that across manually. But it's essentially exactly the same thing you'll do with a scheduled update. Before I do that, however, I'm just going to jump into QGIS because a part of the story is how do you get the data down to your end users? So if I just filter, if you haven't seen these before, what this is these two guys here. That's a cart plugin and a coordinates plugin. The cart plugin manages all the repos. So if I clone a repo down, then it will appear in this list. That was a file sitting on my physical machine. You can then do whatever you like. It's data on your machine. And then the coordinates plugin is where you hook straight into your demo site or whatever site my login has auth to. And as you can see, I just sorted by recently added, and that New Zealand building outlines has come to the top of the list. So what I'm actually looking at there is that is the data as it lives on my site. And what I've done there is I've grabbed it off the site as a service. So as you all know, I'm sure services have limitations. You can't do joins with them. You can't do really advanced analytics. Most of the time with GIS, you need the data sitting on your highly accessible drive somewhere. If you wanted to do that, you would do your clone. So if I do a clone now, and the first step in doing the clone is find somewhere to put it. I need a folder for that. So a repo is basically a folder. And in the folder goes the data. Lots of Flash jargon wrapped around it, but at the end of the day, that's just a folder. And in there, I'm going to clone this data. By default, it's going to come down as a geo package. I can then convert that into an RDBMS if that's a better approach for whatever your use case is. But the long goal here really is I've got the data fairly easily from the site using QGIS. I could be using our desktop app, or I could be using command line, so it can be integrated into another process or program, but I didn't actually need to physically go to the site at all. So now I have, under cart repositories, if I get rid of this guy, where is it? Here. So goodbye service. And this is in that building repo folder that I made is a data set, and it's this guy that I cloned. So if I just drag that into my project and add it, we zoom out a bit. There are the building footprints for the Rotorua TA. So once I've done up on the site, then I should be able to come back here and do an update really, really simply, which is kind of the point of this whole thing. So back over here, my next step is to update the layer in the source. So obviously, if this was Esri, you'd be publishing your new updates to it. This is coordinates, so we'll have to do it coordinates style. In order to do an update to this layer, I need to jump into the back end where all the config stuff happens. I need the manage. I don't really need a map right now. And what I'm going to do is if I go into upload, the simplest way to get your data in is to do an upload. I've actually already got it here, but I'll just show you what an upload looks like. It's pretty simple. So what I've got here, just to explain what I'm about to load up, Uh, the current method for doing an update in Coordinates is you have to include all of the features that are in there already, and then you have to add the new stuff to it. So in here, I've got the same data set that I already have loaded, and I've added the Tauranga building outlines. So if I grab that and we do an upload, now it's doing, so what's happening here is in the background, the data is being copied up to the site AWS. We do a scan. Are all the geometries OGC compliant? If so, happy days, carry on. If not, we have a problem. And we would actually send out an email to the publisher and say, trouble. And that would fire off a support ticket, and they're welcome to follow up with us if they need help determining what the issue was. So this is what I just pushed up there. If I drill down into it, I can see what I have. I've got the New Zealand building outlines. So now I'm doing an update as opposed to an import. First thing I need to do is pick my target, which will be the New Zealand building outlines layer. So it's just currently collecting a list of what the most sensible targets would be. There we go. And it looks like this is the guy I'm after. So what we've got here is just a summary of what's about to happen. You've got existing data, you've got new data coming in. You can mess with your columns if you want. I'll just leave it the way it is and hit update. Because I'd specified the building ID as the primary key, it's going to be doing what I was saying before, basically cruding it, finding all of the deltas, and then applying them. In the coordinate system, you get change sets, and in the cart system, which is also coordinates, you get what we call commits. What I'll be using through QGIS is actually pulling down commits from the cart repository. The layer obviously can still be exported or hit as a service and will be updated. So while that updates, I thought this could take a couple of minutes, and everyone loves a progress monitor. So I thought we'll jump to the front end. I can kill these maps off now. And we can go and look at a layer that I've got already set up to do scheduled updates. And it is, I think, oh, it's not in this one, it's in this one. Go to the front. It's this base data layer. And there's quite a cool irony about this, because this is actually Lynn's primary parcels. It's been grabbed from the LDS using FME and pushed into Eagle, have a Arc Enterprise, and they've made it available to end users like that, which is great. It means that Esri folk can hook into it really easily, and that's what I did. I set up a data source, pointed it at their layer, and it's kind of, I guess, bringing the data back to where it's full circle completion of. And so to see what's going on here, I can go into the history. That's going to show you all of the updates. These are running on a automatic scheduled timer. You can actually go into the cart repo that's been created, and you can see each of the commits. So each of those updates is its own little atomic commit. I can go into any of these commits and say, show me what happened during that update. And this should give me a view of what happened. So there was a bunch of adds, a bunch of mods, and a bunch of deletes. They are all listed down here. I can add them to my map if I want to have a better look at what's gone on. So it just gives you the ability to do like a visual QA of what happened. So there's all the things that happened in that update. So essentially, if you're familiar with change sets, it's basically analogous to viewing a change set. And then if I go into manage, and I find my base data layer, so that's this guy here. Over here, this is the scheduled updates tab. This is where you make the scheduled update, or you configure what you would like it to do. I have it set up to, it's by default disabled. You just simply come in here, enable it, pick a frequency, day, week, month, pick a time, whatever time you want it to do. My advice would be if you are ingesting off an Esri service, do it after midnight because a lot of them globally will do a sort of a reboot at midnight. So if you say want to do a big ingestion at 10 o'clock, you might be out of luck when it goes offline for however long it takes to reboot. So yeah, I'd say you're best to do it just after midnight, and then you can pick your time zone as well. And then that will enable you to have this scheduled update cycle running. Now, if I go back to where my original site, I just want to see whether that layer has been updated. And it's creeping along. It should start to, that little progmon, oh, the is funny. It's 2 degrees straight, it's 2% straight away, and then it'll sit there for a while. So it gets past its initial scan, and then it starts cranking the data through after that. So from here, it should all happen relatively quickly, which I need it to because the next thing I want to do is update the New South Wales demo layer. So I'm going to assume that finishes in the next 10 seconds. And we can head over to my consumption. This is the layer that I'll be updating. There's a couple of different ways you can do it manually, of course. So everything I'm about to do from now is basically what scheduled updates does automatically. You can either do an update from over here, or you can cruise off to the data source itself. And I can say, where are the buildings? In here, choose the layer, do the update. Before I can do my update, I need it to finish. It looks like it's finished. I can see over here in the map that I have now got the Tauranga with footprints added. If I add that to a map, I can absolutely verify that that layer has been updated. If I go to the front end, we'll kill the map. You can leave these maps if you like. I'll just OCD and get rid of them every single time. So if I come back over to here, I can now say, show me the recently updated. And the most recently updated will be the building outlines. And again, I can go into the repo view and I can see that I have added an additional 45,041 features. And that will also be representative under the history. So this is what I meant by it's the same thing as a change set, really. Change set, commit, delta, they're all the same thing. So now that that has been done, I can head back over to my consuming site and I can start my update. So I'm going to say do an update. I want to update the building outlines. Everything is fine in here. And so we hit update. So what's happening here is because I've got it hooked into a data source, first thing the data source will do is a quick scan. Does it find new things in there? Have there been changes? If it has, then great, start pulling it across. Again, using the primary key, it's going to create a delta, and I'll end up with the New Zealand building outlines fully sorted pretty quickly, hopefully. While that's happening, I'll just jump back down to QGIS and show you a couple of things in here. So if I go, that's my repos. This is the data set that I just cloned down. I can right click there, hit show log, and that will open up a QGIS version of the same, basically the same window I was just showing you up on the site. And there's a few things you can do in here. You can, I'm not going to go into it today, but you can create a new branch here, do a bunch of edits. If you had admin rights to this repository, you can then push things back up again. So you wouldn't be having to do that manual update like I was just doing. You're not having to upload a gargantuan file. The benefit of cart is all you're going to have to do is make, say if I just added one feature, that's going to be a commit containing one feature, which will be very small. And when I do my push to send it back up to the source, it will be fast. It's really atomic. It's not going to, you don't have to send the whole entire data set around the place. You just send your changes around the place. So let's get out of here. I'll have to go back up to the site, make sure that that has finished updating, or at least looks threatening, which it does. That's great news. So this should, if everything is awesome, finish pretty shortly. And it is. I can verify now that my site has the stuff in it. I can come in here and take a look. There is all the data. Great. There's a whole lot of other things you can do with the map viewer that are out of scope for this current conversation. So let's stick to the task and head on back to QGIS. Right, so I now have my data set down here. Meanwhile, upstream, the data set has been updated. I want to benefit from that update. So all I have to do is come into here, not hit show log, and do a pull. So really there's two major things that go on. If you put all the other Git type things aside, you're pretty much pulling the data down or pushing the data back up. You can have multiple remotes. You can do all sorts of fancy things in here. You could be using branches. I'm just operating on the main branch. I'm going to say, let's do a pull. So that's off. It's going to query the upstream repository, find out if there have been changes. And this is a completely non-dangerous maneuver. Like if there's nothing up there, it'll just go, no, there's no changes, carry on. If your plug falls out of the wall halfway through, it simply won't apply the commit, and you can do another pull, make sure the plug stays in. So there we have all of the features have arrived for Tauranga, and my data set is now updated. So you can imagine if this was sitting in an RDBMS, it would be just a scheduled task or a Python script or many different methods, and the code would simply say cart pull. So it's a pretty simple method for moving data around. I guess if I zoom out a bit, the story that we're telling here is that you want to a site, you want to make data available to your users, but they have zero ability to pull it from all of these different data sources. So you would use your coordinate site to basically curate the data together, put it into these repositories, and end users have access to them. There are some other kind of cool things you can do in here now, like under the show log, you can go to any commit. So that's where I'm currently at right now. And I can say stuff like show the changes introduced by this commit, which is analogous to what I was showing you up in the cloud. Essentially, you're going to see a list of all of the features, and whatever changes happen, you can look at the old geography, the new geography. This is a dangerous maneuver. It can take a wee while, especially on Zoom. So if I just go back up to the site, because we did say we'd cover it in the webinar, now that you've got your data all in here, you've got it all loaded up. And I'm sure most of you know this already, but we did say that it was able to be done. So you can now do an export, and you can do CAD, or you can do GeoPackage, or you can do. The big difference between an export and doing a clone is the clone remains connected to the upstream repository, and you can benefit from the push-pull system. When you do an export, you've now got a shapefile that's completely divorced from the source. And if you wanted to update your local copy, you would have to download it again. And if it was 6 gigs, you better have some time on your hands. So that is why using card is good. And I think it fills a few gaps in the market. So in any case, I think I'll just leave that there for now. If I wanted to do the export, hit the export. Great. Now I've got a shapefile coming. Yeah, so I might park that there and hand it back to Anne.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for that, Eli. That was really good. We don't have any questions today, so you must have done an amazing job of showing. And it's quite a simple concept, really, isn't it? Like you set the time, the updates come. So
Yep.
yeah,
Handy.
awesome. Okay, well, thank you everyone so much for attending today. If you're interested in how coordinates could work for your business, please get in touch and we can discuss your setup and do a demo for you. For product updates and webinar announcements, and we do have a lot of new exciting things coming. Please do follow us on LinkedIn or our YouTube channel for more bids. So otherwise, have an awesome weekend.